General Cavoli, thank you for being here. A couple questions about NATO, and then I do want to ask about the Gaza pier. There's a lot of discussions today about lessons learned from the Ukraine war. One of the lessons, I suppose, that we could all learn is that our European allies in NATO have come very accustomed to us subsidizing their social welfare programs in Europe because they refuse to meet their 2% obligations. There's only 11 countries that do it. And I think, we represent American taxpayers. United States Senate, that's who we represent. And I want to ask about that. So 2%'s the target. Why is 2% the target? Why not 3%?
Sir, because that's what was agreed to at Wales some years ago.
Right.
Is it an appropriate target? Is it an arbitrary target? I leave those questions to somebody else. What I can tell you is that I know what the alliance needs to do to modernize and to get fit for its collective defense, its new purpose, its reestablished purpose in the wake of the invasion of Ukraine, and it is at least 2%. That's why the alliance at the last summit adopted the phrase, floor, not a ceiling. I think over time we'll see our allies realize that 2% is inadequate for the cost, at least in the near and midterm.
Yeah, I'm glad that they make these pronouncements, but our allies and NATO allies, but they don't seem to ever meet the obligations. And so I guess at what point, when you only have 11 countries doing it, and by the way, many of them fudge these numbers. They're not dollars related to military readiness. And so here we are now. The taxpayers are again being asked to spend another $60 billion on top of the $112 billion. We've been told there could be another $100 billion request, although that's not reflected in this budget. So we don't really know. This is an ongoing war and a blank check. And I believe my job is to try to find out what does victory look like and what is the cost going to be. Because I feel like we're in this mode now where this dominates discussion, but there aren't really a whole lot of details. So again, I question whether 2% is even enough for our European allies. I don't think that it is. I think I hear you saying that, but we also only have 11 of them meeting those obligations. And again, I think those numbers are being fudged. I also have come to learn that, is it your understanding that Hawaii is actually not included in Article 5 obligations under NATO?
Sure. So the number right now is 20 are meeting, 20 allies are meeting 2%. As of June, they will be projected. Norway just sent the Secretary General a letter on Monday saying that, and there are a couple more coming up. But the point, Senator, your point, that the rich countries of Western Europe that are not at 2% are in the wrong place, I agree with absolutely and fundamentally. But I would point out that the trajectory is moving very rapidly in the right direction, and it's doing that because our allies have learned the lesson of the invasion of Ukraine as well. Okay. We still do need to close the say-do gap, however. With regard to
Hawaii, if Hawaii is attacked by China.
Article 6 of the Washington Treaty defines what the territory covered in the treaty is. South of the Tropic of Cancer is not included, so French Polynesia is not in there. The UK's Pitcairn Islands are not in there.
Hawaii's not in there.
Hawaii and Guam are not in there. However, Article 4 gives any nation that has been attacked the right to call consultations with other nations and to say, I want you to do something about this. And Article 5 gives them all the same sovereign right to decide on that. It's just not automatic. But Article 6 can
one would
can
believe
be
that
amended.
our European allies would have no objection to Hawaii being included, correct?
I would expect not. Article 6 can.
What about Guam?
Article 6 can be amended. The United States has never asked to amend it.
Okay. I'm deeply troubled by Macron's comments, I guess about a year ago, that that Europe doesn't need to be dragged into a war in the Pacific and follow the United States, something to that effect. In America's strategic interest, China is by far and away our biggest threat. Do you believe that our NATO allies, if Taiwan is attacked, would join us in that cause?
I believe that many of them would. I do not believe that NATO as an alliance has that purpose right now. It could adopt that purpose, but that's not part of the purpose.
Is anyone in this administration talking to them about that?
Oh, this administration talks a great deal
About that specific issue?
to our allies about being active in the Pacific. Are you asking
Well, I guess I'll just close with this because I'm out of time.
Okay.
I'm very concerned that our NATO allies don't meet their obligations, depend on the generosity of the American taxpayer to a degree that it's very concerning to me. And when you hear comments from the leader of France that they don't want to follow the United States into potentially a war in the Pacific, potentially with our chief adversary, China, that raises a lot of concern. So anyway, I appreciate your service and what you do. But again, I just don't feel like our European allies have stepped up. Thank you.